What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us today for the 1004 show. We're here with Scott McJunkin of Achievely. What's going on, Scott?
Hey, Zach, thank you so much for letting me be here doing this video with you. I am really pumped about this conversation.
It looks like you're pumped, and I can understand why. You know, this is going to be the greatest hour of your life, or at least today.
Yes, I think life, it's up there with life.
Yeah, I can understand why.
It's a word that I would put up there with it. Man, wondrous, actually, another adjective there.
So, I like to start off with pretty difficult questions. What type of material, what type of conditioner do you use to clean your beard?
So that's a good question. This is a sensitive topic for a lot of people out there, and I just want to let you know, if you have a beard, you understand the daily struggle, and everybody's different. Me, I like to pair my beard with some shampoo sometimes. I just bring it down and I do this, and sometimes some face wash. But I always have hair oil. Just typical hair oil on there. You put a little bit on there, it's fine. And yeah, I mean, that's what I do every day. And
hair oil.
Yeah.
Not familiar. I'm not familiar with that, but it sounds awesome.
Well, it's like beard oil, but you get it from the salon. And I also put it in my daughter's hair whenever I blow dry it and stuff. And it's just fantastic. It makes it a little softer, right? A little bit more nicer.
What do you think, like, your brand is associated with your beard? In a serious way, right? So, like, people, when they meet someone, you are a business professional. The way that you dress, you're wearing your collared shirt. Sometimes you wear a jacket. What makes you decide to have a beard or not to have a beard? Because I think a lot of people in the professional world might want to have one. I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
I know, but what makes you think that it's okay to have a beard or not to have a beard?
I think it's kind of, I mean, there's so many ways I could go with that question. This is hilarious. But so yeah, a beard, you could look up blog posts. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to having a beard for a guy. I always wanted a beard, and I was working for a military contractor, and I was around a whole bunch of guys who were like special ops, and they all had these beards, and I just grew it, and then my hair started to kind of fade a little bit. So I was like, okay, so I can't have it here. So what can happen here?
You got it. So are you familiar with the show The Prophet? You ever watched that?
What'd you say?
Have you watched the show The Prophet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, Marcus Lemonis, he is the CEO of Camping World, and he goes and in-depth, buys ownership stock into companies and rebrands them or helps them grow and stuff like that. And one of the companies there, they rebranded to like the Red Beard Guy or something like that, and they use his face as kind of the logo. And so the reason I'm getting to this is when you go to your website, scottmcjunkin.com, there's a picture of you, and it's representing this thing very quickly. So when you want someone to see you, what do you want them to think about you? What do you want them to get as kind of that first impression?
Oh, well, this is going to sound kind of narcissistic in a way, but the reason why I put I wanted my picture up there and that specific photo is because what I want people to see is a guy that you can relate to. What I help people and companies do is, it's like two sides of the fence. I help people realize the direction in their lives. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've literally made every mistake a millennial can make in life. And it's been a long road, and there's been some hard-won lessons that I've had to get. And I want to save people time. I want to save people money. I want to save people heartache. And so I think, I mean, choosing that picture, I think it was probably the best one that represented what I wanted. It wasn't me trying to be like salesy. It wasn't like I'm living the perfect life.
Yeah.
I wanted people, whenever they look at it, be like, hey, no, this guy, he does care. And the last thing I want is like to look like, that
you are your brand, though, right? And so I think it's important that people understand and relate to you, and people buy from people at the end of the day. And so what started off as a simple question about your beard, people, I think, fake who they are in a
Mhm.
lot of and portray themselves as something else. But as a branding expert like you are and have been for decades, I think the brand is something that people think is just a logo, but it's so much more than just a logo. It's the conversations and the stories that you tell. It is the appearance that you have. Obviously, with me, a lot of jeans and a t-shirt type of thing. That's the brand I want people, to associate with me and my company, because I want them to be relaxed and feel comfortable. And I think oftentimes people look at it one way and they get something, but the people who are truly my customers, and I think the people who are truly your customers, feel a specific way, and that's intentional from us.
Yeah, I think you have to communicate who you really are. You can't be anything else than who you are, especially if you're getting out there and selling, or you are out there trying to reach people, help people in business or in their personal life. Um, I mean, gosh, I've seen it happen with so many other people where they try to don this persona of being something else than what they're not, and it's almost like, hey, I am a perfect human being, you know, and we're not perfect human beings. We all have problems. We all have complex lives. We all have different perspectives of the world. And I think that what's easiest for me to reach my market, is to just believe in my message, believe what I'm doing is right and it's what I should be doing. But also, as I'm doing it, I cannot be any other person than myself, because that would be phony. And if some people are turned off by that and they're like, "Hey, this guy doesn't look professional enough. I don't like his beard. I don't like that he uses hair oil in his beard. He should use beard oil or whatever." Um, then those aren't the people I'm trying to reach. It's kind of like, okay, you don't get my message. That's fine. That's totally good. But there are people out there who do understand that there's a need out there, especially the young people and managers trying to work with young people that I'm trying to reach, and building software, building workshops, ebooks, video series, classes, doing whatever I can to help people make the most of their time and create a life they can't wait to live. And that's just my thing.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. You're not going to please everyone. I recently did a talk. There's a concept kind of like TED, but it's called Disrupt, and it's
Yeah.
for human resources professionals. And my first three slides is the thing about culture shock is kind of the title. And my first three slides were a stiff office environment,
Hmm.
an outdoor image of mountains and like a forerunner and like a dog and like camping, and then the words millennials and business. And I said, what are the words that you associate that this way I started? I said, what are the words that you associate with that? And what was
Yeah.
interesting is everyone had different thoughts to it. And I said, that's the key, is that everyone looks at this differently. And just because you see it one way doesn't mean that someone else can. And so I think it's powerful that you want to make sure that you understand that not everyone's going to enjoy your brand, enjoy your message, and that's okay. And you're not going to be able to please everyone. So we're talking with Scott McJunkin, episode 63 of the 1004 show. He's the founder of Achievely. You guys can find it out at achievely.me. Tell me a little bit about the origins of Achievely.
Oh, Achievely. I love this story. I really do. Not because it's like, hey, look how cool I am. No, it's. I like to start with the moral of the story before I tell it, because this story is like, one of, if you're gonna believe in something and you want to do it and you're smart with it and you're willing to work really hard, do it, because things are gonna happen and you have no idea where it's going to go. You have no idea how it's going to morph and transform. And that's really what this story is about. So Achievely it started out not as Achievely, but started out in 2009. I was working with the C12 chair, Randy Case, and what C12 does, it works with CEOs in the Hampton Roads area. And so I got to work with this guy, and he acted as a coach, mentor, group facilitator for CEOs. And I got to see firsthand the power of this, right? Like, these CEOs, their businesses were improving, but also their lives were improving. These guys were talking about their hopes, dreams, and fears, everything from hiring to firing to friends and marriage. And I got to see over time the power of personalized coaching, mentorship, just being able to have a listening ear. And the idea happened in 2009. Cell phones were just brand new, still. And I just had the thought, what if everybody in the world had access to personal development through a company, whether it's through a coach. And then that was really my main thing, was like through coaches, like people could have access to coaches. And the time wasn't there. I mean, the technology wasn't really there. My skills weren't really there. My perspective wasn't there, but I kept the idea going. It wasn't until about 2015 that I saw, this need happening. Now, I have personal experience with this, but also academics were starting to talk about it, businesses. I mean, and more people that I was interacting with, they started talking about this thing that's coming. And this thing is, the best way to describe it is the difference between vertical and horizontal development. And so, so let's kind of take a step back. And in 2008, right, the recession hit. Companies contracted a little bit. Everything was efficiency based. The war for talent was over. People were getting laid off. People were just lucky to have jobs. And so companies were really, really, really focused on efficiency. People were treated as tools. People were treated as just assets that can be exposed of. I experienced that personally. That kind of mentality in business. And what I was like, okay, times are tough. You got to be efficient. But what we lost in that time was the need to develop people vertically. And that's like the lens through which we see the world, who we are as people, how we are thinking. Are we complex thinkers? Are we not? Are we adaptable? And these are soft skills. They're not associated with competencies. So anyway, that's my academic talk. Really, what I mean, to boil it down, companies were focused on efficiency and improving people's skills. I started to see in 2015 that the economy was improving, and that down the road, companies are going to have to start looking at their employees as people if they're going to want to attract the right people and keep them long term. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get Achievely back up and going. It sounded like you had a question. I'm sorry.
Well, I think a lot of people hear the word soft skills, or they hear soft skills put together, but they don't necessarily know exactly what soft skills are.
Right.
So what are a couple soft skills that you hear a lot of people talk about?
So what young people want specifically, they want the soft skills in the terms of personal development. Yes, like how do I become a leader, but what does that mean, right? But really what they're looking for is, can you give me some skills, not just competency-based skills, but also personal skills that can help me become more profitable, more marketable in the job market, and how can I improve as a person too? And so everybody says they want an employee that cares about them, but there's very few companies that actually have mechanisms in place for them to actually improve their people on a personal level. And there's a paradigm shift happening. Where young millennials are kind of expecting, if I'm going to work for you and spend most of my days with you, then yes, I'm going to get a paycheck, but how am I going to grow as a person?
Why should the employer care about that, though? Like, why?
Well,
because I'm a business.
Right.
I think this is where the biggest challenge is with millennials. We're both one on the opposite sides, right? Or we're on the same side, but on the opposite side of the 20-year push. And I think at some point millennial will break into two, because as we've been talking about, you and I grew up on a typewriter. My brother and sister have no idea what that is, and then the high schoolers now that are right on the other end, they do everything on this, and they have forever. And so I think millennials might split, but a lot of people talk about millennials being this not just challenge, but a pain in the rear. And a thing where they want so much and they're entitled, and there's other people out there that are willing to bust their tails. Like, why should a company even care about investing in something like this for people who, and I'm generalizing all of this, right? I'm not saying all companies, and I'm not saying all millennials, but you're hearing all these stories about these millennials that are super entitled, and then the employer is giving them so much, and then they don't even care. So, like, why do it? Why?
Okay. That is a great question. I hear it a lot. And I would say that there is a perspective that young millennials or millennials in general are entitled. And yeah, I do have to say I've heard a lot of stories. Yeah, that sounds there's some things that there's entitled millennials out there. But let's kind of take a step back. I want to go back to 2008, especially young millennials. They weren't in the workforce when that happened. And what they saw was almost like a contract being broken, okay? Because we've been told throughout our entire lives, hey, the way you make it in life is that you go to school, you follow this path, and then you'll be rewarded, and then you'll get a job and all that stuff. 2008 happened. These people were still in high school or junior high, and they were sitting back kind of watching what was happening with my parents, my aunts, uncles, friends. They saw how companies just let people go. Everything became very, very efficiency based. Mm-hmm. And so they're entering the workforce more nervous. I mean, the studies are showing that these people are more stressed. They stay up at least once a night every month thinking about life and money. That's a big thing. And they know that companies aren't loyal to them. And so why should they be loyal to companies?
Because a company is just a number. A company treats them as a number.
Companies just treat them as a number. They saw it. They saw it happen everywhere. And I experienced it too. And it was sad. It really was. But the economy is improving. People are going to need more talent. And so here's what's happening. The future's coming. It's like this big fog thing, right? Like we don't AI.
Is this where you want the special effects to come in and just have fog, like fill up the screen?
That's doing with my hands.
We don't have that kind of budget yet. So I'll do the fog.
Can we just imagine my hands are fog, right? And so the future's coming. And employers, they need people that aren't just like skill-based stuff, which has been around, that kind of training, cross-training, negotiation stuff. That's been around since the Industrial Revolution. What they need to handle this future that's coming are very well-developed, complex thinkers that can handle decisions, handle things fast, and adapt quickly to uncertain and unfamiliar situations, right? And so there's this thing in 2008, all the companies before that, everybody relied on competency. If I just have really good skilled workers, then I'm going to have a good business. Well, that is going to change for businesses. They need more complex thinkers that have more of these vertical developed skills. And also these people that are coming into the workforce in a post 2008 world, to attract that top talent, they're going to have to give them more. They're going to have to say, okay, we understand that you're entrepreneurial with your career, that you're going to stay with us for a short time, and I'm competing to pay you. But what if you come work for me, you're not only going to get a good paycheck and benefits, I'm going to also help you develop as a person. I'm going to help you achieve your personal goals. And by the time you leave here, you're going to be a more developed person.
And I always tell my team something similar to this, where it's, I don't think I'm going to have you for the rest of my life, right? I'd love to, but I probably won't. And so I want to make sure that because I want them to emotionally want to be there, right? And so one way that I do it is I say, what do you want to be in life? Let's try and inch you closer to that thing. And so by having conversations with people and learning what they really want to do in life, I think is a good way to start from an employer standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's an excellent perspective to have. And that is a sign of an entrepreneur that really, really cares about people. But especially, it is. And not many people have that. What I've found is that not many people think that way. And that's what I'm saying, going back to the beginning of this conversation, is that you got to have a message that not many people are going to agree with. I'm trying to reach those people who have that kind of heart that say, I want to develop my people. I want to attract the best people. Even if I can't pay them the best, I want them to work for me because I'm going to give them something more valuable for the rest of their life, which is you're going to grow as a person.
Well, I think that when I was in my career, as a non-entrepreneur, as an employee somewhere, I learned a lot from really bad situations. And so, I have like this mental note in my head where I'm just like, I don't want that to happen to someone else. So I need to be cautious of that. And if this was me, how would I feel about this? And so I try and be, as transparent as possible. That does not mean say everything, right? Mm-hmm. But definitely not and also not be a complete tool the whole time, because I've definitely had bosses that just thought that they could do whatever they want and treat their teams like crap. See, I usually don't even call my team employees. I call them teammates, right? And I think that's another thing to just get them on that. Oh, like we're a team. We're a team. Like employees, that's so defined as like, okay, you're a number. You're this thing. We're not doing this together, right? And if you think of it from a sports perspective, I don't know if you like sports, but the whole team mentality of sports, and a football team has like 300 people that work at each team, maybe more, right? And all those people are important. And if you don't have all those things working together, you don't have a good team.
No.
You talked a lot about coaching and how coaching was the avenue where you wanted this to go through. What is a coach, and why does everyone need one?
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I got off track, which isn't a good sales tactic, I guess. But I just really like talking about this because anyway, I anyway. So I started out. I was like, okay, everybody needs a coach. How can I do that? So I created a prototype for like Achievely. Was a prototype to connect people to coaches virtually. So what I saw is coaching. It's a good coach can really bring out a good part of you. It can really improve how you are as a employee and as a person. But a lot of coaches, they're not really good at marketing themselves. And they're usually geographically based. They're not technologically adept. Like this is just what I'm finding, and they're very expensive. Like it's a very elitist thing for people to have like a coach. And so I was like, okay, so I identified all the things that are kind of time wasters, marketing that takes away the time, travel, booking, scheduling, follow up. And so I developed Achievely to streamline the coaching process and for people to have access to a coach and then have a virtual coaching thing where they work from a shared goal dashboard. That sounds all techie kind of thing, but that's what I developed as a prototype. And also I got a lot of feedback about the prototype from Gary Oster over at Regent. Dr. Oster, excellent guy. And he was just like, keep going with it, keep going with it. But life got in the way. And this is one of those stories. Life got in the way. I shelved the project for about a year. I showed it to a few people. And it wasn't until the beginning of 2016 that, I got in contact. And this is why it's so important as entrepreneurs to be in a community. It is so, so important to like give to other people, be there for other people, give feedback, do what you can, because your network is amazing. But you have to network, you have to be in this community of people. And so my network, I eventually found a guy. He owns a couple Chick-fil-A's over here on the peninsula, and we talked about his needs, and he had the same heart that we're talking about. Like, okay, what I want, yes, I want to make money, but he said, really what I want is for people whenever they leave Chick-fil-A to be better people, to be incredibly marketable, and I want to develop them. And so he had this internship program, and he was getting all this interest, and it was like I'm starting to see more and more people. He's getting like the best people to work for his Chick-fil-A's, people with degrees and experience traveling across country just to work at his Chick-fil-A's. And I got to know them, and I built an Achievely for him, and we've been able to see just how impactful having a leadership personal development thing is inside of his companies. He's running better. His companies are running better. He has more time because he's not personally coaching them, and people feel like they're in an environment where they actually are cared for, and they're going to work more. And so I'm seeing.
Take me a little under the hood. Tell me like what type of things these employees, these teammates, sorry, not employees, these teammates at Chick-fil-A are receiving when they are a member of Achievely.
So they sign up for Achievely. What they get, what they have access to is our courses, and we develop all the courses in-house. So filming, script writing, hiring actors, video production, course development. We create a really, really good uh, excellent, excellent course for them. And I worked directly with the owner, and we were like, okay, what do you want them to learn? What is the most important for your company? And I develop that course for him in the learning progression. And so they have access to video. Each one is a micro learning video. It's very short. And then they have a download of some sort of worksheet or reading material. And then they take a quiz and they get points, they get badges, and they're able to interact on this social media thing to where they can grow as a community inside of Achievely. And what that does is these are lessons that the owner of a Chick-fil-A usually spends a lot of time teaching his employees. I mean, very, very good concepts about leadership. But we all know fast food is high turnover. And so doing that all the time can really take a lot of time away from the business for the owner. And
Because
so
they're
this,
manually doing it to every person.
he was manually doing it, yes. And he was finding he was missing people. It was taking a lot of time. I mean, there's just some things, whenever it starts really going, everybody wants it. There's just some logistical things that make it impossible to do. And so this is what that does. It teaches them on a consistent basis the values and the things, the leadership material that he wants taught. And what's cool about it is that it's all like these soft skills that you're talking about. It's all vertical development. He has all like how to make chicken nuggets and all that stuff. That's on a different system, that Chick-fil-A corporate kind of gives them. This thing talks about leadership, goal setting, setting a vision for your life, values. I mean, it goes so deep. It's crazy. And these people that go through it, they're not just learning what it takes to be a leader within his organization, but also there are things in there that are going to take them into their lives. Like, how do you have a vision for your life? Where do you want to go? And it's been, and you combine that with the internship program that he has. I mean, it's fantastic.
So we have a program called Leap, and it's a business obstacle course. And what I think is really important with it is you learn a skill and then you figure out how to do it yourself. And as I'm listening to you say this, it's interesting because I think that with Chick-fil-A, you have this thought about what type of company that they are, right? And the stories that you hear with them, and then what are if you start doing word association with them, right? And what's interesting is I think mostly with Chick-fil-A you have positive thoughts, right? If you look at some of the other fast food restaurants, you might not have those thoughts. And so you're starting to see companies like Wendy's do social media that's a little ridiculous if you think about it. I don't know if you've seen any of this stuff, but like they'll respond back like people will talk smack about different restaurants, and they'll respond with funny, witty things and stuff like that. And I say that because it's interesting that Chick-fil-A is building these brands, right? There has built this brand, and people now are wanting to go deeper on that and to make their employees even more successful. But then you're starting to see other brands that are doing things wildly different and are not getting kind of the same impact, right? So even though Wendy's is funny and they have this social media there, Chick-fil-A is really building a stronger, better future. And it's just crazy to think that their managers are going above, or the managers and owners of some of these other franchises are going above and beyond to create this. And so I'm not shocked, right? I mean, you go to Chick-fil-A, my pleasure every time. And then when you don't hear my pleasure, you're like, is everything okay? But it's crazy to think that this person is building this on his own, basically.
Yeah. So when I was pitching the idea for Achievely, what people told me was that, hey, there's this guy, Kevin Harrison. He owns a couple Chick-fil-A's, and he's been wanting to build something like this. And how about y'all talk? And like the conversation just went from there. And at the beginning of my story, I said, you don't know where it's going to take you. Well, Achievely's still evolving. Like, I'm still learning more about his business. He's bringing in Tom Davis. He's a fantastic leadership coach. I'm learning a lot from him. And I'm seeing that this need in how to work with businesses and develop that leadership material stuff impacts the business on a level. But it really, really does take having an owner, having someone to just say, you know what, I want this for my employees. And that's the type of guy Kevin is. It's a very unique guy that does this. I'm not saying that everybody is like it, like him, one in a million kind of guy. But he truly has a heart, and he dedicates his own time. He brings people in for special workshops all the time. It comes out of, yeah, I mean, he pays for it.
Yeah.
And he's
Well,
paying for this.
so you just said something that's really interesting, right? He's a one in a million person.
Yeah.
He's someone that is really truly giving back. So a lot of people talk about, if entrepreneurship is learned or taught. But what about leadership? Is leadership really something that can be taught, or do you truly have to be born a leader? And this guy, it's one in a million because there really isn't a lot of other people out there that are leaders.
Well, I think Kevin. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but from what I've seen, and he teaches a story. It's called "What About the Shirt?" I mean, it's what about? It's not about the shirt. Sorry, it's not about the shirt. And the long and short of it is that he started. A lot of people out there, they want to become a leader for the recognition. Shirt, maybe a different color shirt, right? If you're in the fast food industry, you get a different shirt if you're a leader. Like, why do you want to be a leader? And Kevin, at a young age, I believe, or as he was developing as an owner, he saw how people who want just the shirt are motivated by just personal ambition. They don't end up making the best quote unquote leaders. And so it really isn't, are you born with it or not? It's your motivation behind it. Do you want to help other people grow from a really genuine place within you? Or do you want the recognition? Do you want the notoriety? Do you want the higher paycheck? Because if you do, you may be a boss. You may be someone who can tell people what to do, but you're not going to be a leader, someone that inspires other people to actually grow as a human being. And so that's how I answer the question. It's how you're motivated that makes all the difference. Because you can learn the skills, you can learn the leadership skills, but if you don't have the right motivation, it's not going to work for you.
So there's people out there that teach you how to save money. There's people out there that will teach you how to put a business plan together, how to live your life better. I actually think that stuff's fairly easy to do. I think actually doing it is the difficult part. So and one of the most difficult parts in all of this is when you hit a roadblock, or the devil inside of you is telling you, hey, you can't do this. So knowing that roadblocks, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but knowing that roadblocks are something that most people can't get through, what are some ways that you would tell someone or teach them or help guide them when something is in front of them that they don't know how to get through?
So we always encounter roadblocks. I can't tell you how many times along this journey that I've been on where it seems impossible. And honestly, there were things that were impossible to do. I would say, without knowing any facts, and this is a hypothetical situation, but we all experience it, these roadblocks. Number one, you got to just know that it's a process. Know that whatever you're on, you want to get fitter, you want to start a business, you want to write a book, you want to whatever. Just know that hardships are going to come your way. There are going to be problems, and they're going to pop up, and you're going to have to face down some pretty big demons inside you and also the world. Like there are things that are going to happen. Just know that it's a process and fall in love with the process. And that's what I've had to do. And whenever I see people say, you know what, I'm facing this problem that's happening out here, but that doesn't impact what's going on in here, and I'm just going to know that this is part of the story. You will get through it. You just will. And if you're enjoying the process of growth, then you're going to learn a lot more. You know what I'm saying? Because if you resist it and you fight it, you can get depressed, you could develop addictions, you could give up. But really, at the end, if you are resisting the process, you're also resisting the lessons that come with the struggle. And so I would say fall in love with the struggle, fall in love with the process. Also, another thing is this concept, and I go into this in my 3 video series. Yes, I have a 3 video series. I want people to know about this stuff. It's 3 free videos. One of the things that I go in there on unstuckvideos.com is is this concept of breadcrumbs and thankfulness. Um, and I first heard about this concept from my friend Jerry. Like imagine that you're in a forest, right? And it's dark, it's windy, it's rainy, there's thunder going around, and this is life right now. It's really bad. And you don't know where you are. And you know you're supposed to get somewhere. And along the way, you start groping through the forest, and then all of a sudden you see little breadcrumbs, and they can be very, very small, right? And these are the blessings in your life. These are the good things. And as you're going through the hard times, these little breadcrumbs, your job is to continue following them, but also obsess about those breadcrumbs. Obsess about the good things, because you know what? Life can get really hard, and if you look around at the wind and the rain and the trees and how dark it is, um, you could go into a very dark place. I would say look at those blessings that come along and obsess about them. Make those little breadcrumbs. It could be the shape that you don't want. It could be the wrong breadcrumb, but obsess and make it your whole world. And pretty soon you're gonna have a loaf of bread, you know. And so those are my two pieces of advice for people when
Powerful.
it comes to.
Very powerful. Scott McJunkin. We're talking about Scott McJunkin of Achievely. You guys can learn about them at achievely.me. This is episode 63 of the 1004 show. If you guys are enjoying this, make sure to subscribe.
Yep, subscribe.
And download every episode humanly possible. Is e-learning the future?
E-learning's been around for a long time.
But I don't think it's gotten full adoption yet on your big scale.
I think we're still in this world where we're trying to figure out what role and how to best leverage it. E-learning by itself is going to improve. It's going to be the costs are coming down substantially. I think what's going to make e-learning take off is number one, quality of the content, production value, of course, but ease of use. It used to be really, really clunky. You get on Moodle or whatever, and it was just really hard and it wasn't enjoyable. I think that for e-learning to take off is that there's got to be style. It's got to be entertaining. It's got to be informative. And so as the future, yeah, I think there is a growth area in that thing. It's just how people leverage the technology.
What's your favorite business book?
Oh gosh. Let me see. I've been reading. I've just been swamped with a ton of good books. I would say my favorite one, I would categorize that as a book that made the most impact on me. And I want to make sure I get. It's called Relentless by Tim Grover, I think, without getting on my Kindle right now. Relentless. He was I love it. I got it on Audible. He was the trainer of Michael Jordan. Like Michael Jordan would come to him to improve. And so this guy has throughout his career trained the best of the best. And so it's like the ultimate winning mentality. And this guy just, he doesn't, there's not much puff in the book. There's not much filler. It's just all really good content, man. Really good.
Do people promote themselves and their businesses enough?
I think that you have to be comfortable with yourself enough and believe in your message enough to actually promote yourself, and for it not to look, what insincere. That was the word I'm looking for. No, the answer is no, but I don't fault that for people because it's very intimidating actually to get out there and promote yourself, especially if it's you. There's a level of vulnerability that it takes, and that's a hard thing to accept.
Are you personally afraid to market your business? Do you fall under that?
I think with anybody starting out, whenever you go out with a message and you work on a project, a little bit of yourself is put into every project. And so, yeah, whenever you are like, hey, here world, here's what I have for you, you're going to be rejected. And on some level, I think every entrepreneur kind of understands this, that especially starting out at first, when people reject it, that's just something that you have to accept. And you have to accept it because it's kind of hard, Is it
because they don't want to know if their baby's ugly?
Or it kind of, yeah. Like it's, how do I put it? I mean, I do a lot of content creation, a lot of writing, a lot of me speaking personally. And so there's a lot of me in the stuff. And so you have to make a choice. Like, hey, if people don't like it, it's okay. It wasn't meant for them. But you have to be okay with people not liking a little bit of who you are, your idea, your thing that you want to birth out into the world. So to market yourself, I think it's always nerve wracking, but I just believe in this message so much that I think it would be wrong for me not to try to help people and companies not make the mistakes that I did, because it can cost them a lot of money and it can take a lot of time. And I just I want people to learn these lessons, get over it, and just live their lives, make their companies the best that it could be, hire the best people, and end this whole thing where people are just numbers and assets. We are people, and I want to get out there and I want to help people do that.
You're
So,
familiar with the bell curve?
yeah.
So
Hmm.
I believe that you can find exactly who your target customer is, know the exact niche, the exact person. So, female, 37 years old, went to Penn State University, is married with 3 kids, and lives in Morgantown, West Virginia, and went to Regent University for her MBA. So you
Right.
can have all that information. But then, I think this is where a lot of people are misled in target customers and finding specific people. I believe that they're just like the bell curve. There is still your early adopters, the people
Hmm.
that are a little on one side of the fence, a little on the other side, and then people that are never going to find you and may never buy you. And I think oftentimes we need to, at the same time finding those target customers, put out qualifiers just like a bell curve to figure out where they are kind of on that scale. Because if they're the people who don't want you, even though they fit that target customer, so you're trying to work with a lot of millennials and businesses who are trying to find themselves. And so you can find those people, but not have them on the bell curve correctly.
Um, yes, I do agree with you. There is a lot of marketing statistics, demographics, psychographics that we can get into. Um, Primarily, I think what the problem that I'm trying to address is something that people intuitively know is there. And
Yep.
it really depends on your market and where you are in your business cycle or your financial constraints that really that can determine if you want to go along the lines of developing your people on a vertical level. Um, I am literally at a point to where I know that this is a solid message and I'm trying to get it out as much as I can. And whoever gets it will get it. And that, that, that's kind of the thing. And I want to work with those type of people that get it, you know?
Right, I think you should, and that's what I'm getting
Yeah.
at. Is all too often it's the low hanging fruit, right? If you're going after people who aren't ready for it, you could be wasting your time and money on that piece. So you get this off the ground. The message is there. What are the top three or four things that you do to start telling the world that you're open for business? That Cheevely is available.
Well, like I said, network is a huge deal. It's not networking. It's um, just telling people, getting out there, advertising, Facebook ads, content development. I mean, there's some standard operating procedures that go along with marketing your business, but any opportunity that you have to get the message out there, I take advantage of. Any time that someone has, hey, I want to listen to what you have to say, I'm going to tell them, you know, and I'm not going to be pushy with it, but I do believe in this, and I'm not going to apologize for it. That this is something that people need to hear, and I believe in this product so much. So I know you're asking me that question so I can, kind of give my perspective to help other people. What I would tell other people to do is that you have to believe so much in your product, and that you have to, I mean, it has to be the best. Your name's attached to it. It has to be fantastic. And if you're not going to make it the best, if you're not going to push as hard as you can, don't do it at all, because people don't want to buy from people that are hesitant on putting themselves out there and actually saying, "Hey, no, I stand beside my product. I stand beside my service." Um,
So it's that simple:
this
love it or don't. And if you don't,
love it,
don't do it.
don't do it. People can tell when you are nervous, and you're holding back and you're like, hey, it could be a good thing for you. No, like you have to have that confidence to go out and say, no, this is awesome. You're
What
going
if
to
you're a
love.
shy person? What if you're inherently not that person? Like you do believe it, but you're timid because you're timid to be there.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I did make it sound like, hey, you got to go out and just be super highly aggressive. If you
This
know
is
me,
this is why I am the host, Scott,
yeah,
and I get paid the big bucks because I have to question you on your statements. You can question me when I'm on your show.
yeah, it's, I did make it sound like you have to be super aggressive. If you know me, I am not a super aggressive seller. I don't do well. I do well whenever I'm allowed to be vulnerable. And so I'd say to that timid person, I think the hardest thing would be to be vulnerable. And what I mean by that is not like tell them your entire life story. What I'm telling them is talk to them like a person. If you're timid, practice your sales pitch, practice what you're going to say by yourself, but also be willing to go ahead and be honest with them because that's an asset that you probably have. Is just be completely trustworthy in that the message that you say, hey, I care about you and your business so much. Here's how it can help you. Um, and that's how I do it. And I would start off just telling people and being, hey, I want to sell this. I don't know how else to say it.
I don't
But
think people promote or sell their businesses enough, and I'm going to be interested if this world of like really slow drips continues, or if we're going to move to a world that's super aggressive again. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Tell me something about you that people don't know.
I really like peanut butter. Um, I eat peanut butter a lot. What else?
Crunchy or
I like
creamy?
fountain. What? Extra crunchy. It's the way to go. You get more bang for your buck. And Jif is the best peanut butter.
Extra crunchy Jif.
I like,
Now sponsoring the
yeah.
1004 show.
There you go. You always got to do the plugs, right? You gotta
You got to.
plug the.
What about Achievely? What does Achievely look like in 6 months? Or what are your goals with Achievely over the next 6 months?
The goals for Achievely is to identify those business owners that truly care about their employees, and I want to create the perfect service and product offering for those people because I want to make it possible for them to have uh, leadership development within their companies at an affordable price and it to be done really quickly. So I'm still experimenting and I'm still working with clients. Signed one up this week. Um, just trying to figure out their needs and exactly how can I pair my development of course material and technology with their specific business needs. And so that's what it's going to be. 6 months, it's going to be it's going to be a much more developed product and service offering that is exactly what people need.
Very cool. Scott McJunkin, Achievely. You guys can check them out at achievely.me. Check all this out in the show notes. Episode 63 of the 1004 show. If you guys loved Scott, check him out. If you loved the show, download it, subscribe. Scott, appreciate your time. We'll see you soon.